Hi, welcome to Culture Sharp. So this has been an interesting week at Happy Sandpit. We've launched the Iceberg culture stress testing game. We've been talking about doing this for a while. This is a game that's based on your core values and enables you to test how well people know them, how well they understand them, etc. And it follows in this whole theme that I've been on over the last few weeks, if you've been following Culture Sharp, about core values. I'm kind of increasingly obsessed by them, and with good reason, I think, because to me, it's very clear that when we've chosen a set of core values that really resonates with the organization, with the internal members of the organization, then we have a really good shot at reducing the sort of the friction amongst the internal relationships, about setting a set of guidelines that people can follow because they get them, because they can internalize them, because they understand them, because they make sense. And I think the problem is, one of the real challenges we have around selecting core values for our organizations is that we forget that. We choose them for the wrong audience. In other words, we set out to choose core values that can keep all members of the organization together and keep us tight as a tribe, but then we go out of our way, and I mean literally go out of our way, to make them palatable for an external audience. And in so doing, we create them, we make them blander than they should be, we take away some of the teeth, some of the fangs, some of the sexiness, some of the things that we really get behind. And so ultimately they become a little bit meaningless, and we struggle to make them stick. It's not really surprising. When you think about core values that really work, that really sort of stick well with members of the organization, they are ones that are not just a set of preferences, and they're not just sort of highfalutin ideas, but I can dig it, I can get it, I can internalize it. It resonates with me, and I kind of go, I get why that's important. When you have that's a set of core values, or that is a value that forms a set that really deliver the result of having people together, forming part of a tribe, living and working together, acting and reacting in the same way to things, in such a way that there's predictability and all of those sorts of things that core values are supposed to drive. So, what do I mean by this? Well, there's a few examples that really stand out for me, and of course, the sort of the wide examples sort of challenge the rule. They make the case. You may not necessarily want to go all the way with this, but consider these real-world options, for example. There is an organisation in Four Ways in Johannesburg called Missing Link. People in Johannesburg tend to know about Missing Link. They're quite well known, but internationally you may never have heard of them. But you should look them up, because they're a really interesting group of people. But they are quite explicit about what they mean when they put together their core values. One of them, for example, and pardon my French here, but it's very simply, they have a core value of give a shit. Now, a lot of organizations have things that are similar. They'll have a core value of accountability. You might have that too. And accountability means I'm accountable for my job, I'm accountable for my existence, I'm accountable for the way I turn up every day. I get it. I get why it's there. But giving a shit takes it a step further for Missing Link, because for them it's not just about being accountable for your job. It's if you see somebody struggling to open a door when they're carrying a box, give them enough of a shit to get up and go and help them with it. They feel that if you do that kind of thing, all those little sorts of things, relationships improve, predictability improves, teamwork improves, etc., etc. And so that core value does not play desperately well with external audiences, but it absolutely works inside Missing Link, and it gives them the result that they want. The end result of people doing that, acting that way with each other, is better service, better products, better delivery, better this, better that, better the other. The customer benefits from the core values, but the core values themselves are not written for an external audience. In other words, stop worrying about how well these things play. Customers have values like, and you might have this, customer centricity or customers first or something like that. It's such a bland way of putting it. We all know more or less what you mean. You want to have greater customer service. You want to be nicer to customers, deliver better things for customers. And of course, that makes perfect sense from a business point of view. But when you think about the software company Atlassian, one of their core values is don't beep the customer. They're explicit about it. There it is on their website. That's what they say. Now, that doesn't play terribly well with an external audience necessarily. You might kind of go, oh, we don't necessarily want to say that kind of thing, but internally people get what that means. And the end result is that customers don't get beep, right? They don't get that. So that works, right? It's an internal value it's a core value written for an internal audience, which plays out well in the end result with an external audience. And here's the manual, the handbook for a company called Intellect in Johannesburg as well. Software development company again. These guys are, I mean, they tend to be quite creative and quite bright in terms of how they do things, but they've got a very high IQ group of people. Anyway, look, they've chosen core values about getting things done, about growth, and about those sorts of things. These are core values for them, but the way they've phrased them, they've taken a Star Trek idea, a Lord of the Rings idea, a Star Wars idea, because people inside Intellect, these sort of very, pardon me, but geeky coding kinds of people, those are things that they're really into. They get that resonates with them. It makes sense to them. And as a result of phrasing the values in a way that isn't just some hectoring HR language, but something that they kind of get really cozy with straight out of the gate, because they kind of go, that's cool, I get it. You get core values that work. When the core values work, even though they may not phrase well, play well to an external audience, the end result of those core values is what the external audience wants. I want, as your customer, for you to be a bit more customer-centric. How you get there isn't really my business. If you do it by giving a shit, great. End result is I get looked after. We struggle with core values. We struggle with them for all sorts of reasons, but I think one of the reasons we struggle very simply is we forget the audience we're writing them for. We're writing these for an internal audience. And as long as the internal audience understands them, embraces them, accepts them, loves them, lives them, does it naturally, the external result is probably going to be a very good one. That's food for thought for me for this week. I hope it's food for thought for you as well. And I wish you a very good week.